Thank you. Thank you, Min. Thank you, everyone. Everyone loves a love story. Well, most people. And this is a little bit of a love-hate relationship story. First of all, anyone here actually use TeamCity? Put up your hand. That's awesome. Anyone else use... And with all those hands, TeamCity on EC2, or you have using SaaS? Like TeamCity on EC2 or a server, on-prem server, just on a server. Put your hand up. Okay, about the same. And Jenkins or any other build server on a server? Yep. Cool. And what about Terraform? Hands up. Anyone using Terraform? Cool. So two things before I start. Firstly, apologize, I don't have any pictures of any mammals in my presentation today. There's been a few of them because our legal team will not allow mammals in our presentations. And also, I'm going to attempt this to be the most enterprise developer presentation with the most cloud native content. All right, so we'll see how it goes. Just one more thing, a couple more things that you should probably just know about me, just to give you a bit more context, and mainly just to let you in on some of my biases, which will you might see play out, which has some context to where we went, is one thing, I have a deep respect for infrastructure and network people. We all know that serverless doesn't actually mean serverless, right? I'm just not one of those people. So I don't enjoy managing servers at all. So kudos to those people who do. Another thing is I like to oversimplify things, just a heads up, which probably comes from my UX designer days. And more cloud, less code is a motto I like to live by, practice. More cloud, less code. I think it was Uncle Bob that said, the only way to guarantee no bugs in your code is to just not write any code at all. So, and a practical example of that would be, why would I create a Lambda that consumes a Kinesis that writes to S3 when I can just use Firehose, right? So, but despite all of that, I am still a developer and I still do actually love code, whether you believe me or not. So, our love story starts, as most do, as romantic bliss, where our team is working well, optimally, productivity is good, we have a process, a flow that's working well between all the devs and all the people within our team using GitHub Enterprise with short-lived branches and pull requests and all those DevOpsy buzzwords. TeamCity builds our packages, does our builds, our package. It's highly available, it has disaster recovery. It's in the cloud, we have EC2 and we have Aurora and we have elastic load balancers and all that cool stuff. Terraform does our deploys, Terraform Enterprise we use, which is just a centralized way to run your Terraform plans and applies. It's SaaS, so even better. And life is good, right? What could possibly go wrong? So when did it all start to change from that romantic bliss that we had to starting to get some cold feet? We know it's all about the little things, right? And there was some little things that we hadn't noticed that before in our bliss that started just to surface. And like any team, we want to improve and get better. And we want to mature the relationship that we have with our technology and our tools. So we want to do more, get more value out of our tools. We want add more automation, bake in more so you don't have to do those menial tasks. It just felt though that it shouldn't be this hard. We were trying to automate and do those things, and it just felt a bit hard. Relationships are hard, I know, but the TeamCity API wasn't quite the best. Terraform Enterprise API wasn't much better. It felt like what we were left with was just sticky tape and glue style architecture trying to stitch together shell scripts with repurposed TeamCity builds that run shell scripts that call Terraform Enterprise that is on an auto apply and we've got the build server running our integration tests, and it just kind of didn't feel kind of right. The next thing was, remember I don't like servers, right? So, the disk and CPU and the patching and the monitoring, that dreaded TeamCity build queue. If you have TeamCity, you know that. I mean, you're only limited by your licensing power. And it was either, because we were sharing this TeamCity instance, right, with other teams, so it was either our build was holding them up or their build was holding us up. And I just want to code, like we just want to code, like we didn't want to have to manage stroke the TeamCity server and, make that kind of thing. Dollars was another one, so relationships are expensive, right? Like, this relationship was a little bit expensive, with licensing and EC2 and all this kind of thing. And it's hard to know, and it was hard to know, because we were sharing it with other teams, who was paying for what, like who should pay for what, and who was paying for what. So then, making the change, the big plunge, the breakup. So, like any breakup, you have to find the right time, to deliver the news, and we had to find the right time within our project delivery pipeline, our schedule and that kind of thing, and we found that time, and so we replaced TeamCity for code build, our Terraform files for CloudFormation, and Terraform Enterprise for code pipeline. So letting TeamCity and Terraform down slowly didn't change all our components at once. We actually even now still have a couple of components using TeamCity, so it's a journey to kind of, you got to let them down slowly, right? And but we did it. We did make the leap to do that. So where are the benefits? Like you saw kind of, the mapping of what we changed, but and you saw those pain points, but what does that kind of really map to? So no more servers, that's a plus. That's worth a winky face with a big smile. We only pay while our build is running. So obviously it's in our AWS account now, code build, so not the other teams, so we're only paying for when our build is running. Better scale of builds, no more blocked builds. Only scale is only limited by how many you want to be running at a time. Excuse me. Full suite of options to create a stack with CloudFormation. So there's a CLI, APIs, SDK, which makes it easy to automate now. There's a lot more options, not limited by maybe not so good TeamCity API or something like that. We don't need magic now, like voodoo magic, to be able to stitch pipelines together, to create that glue and sticky tape pipeline. We've swapped that for code pipeline, and it means we can run integration tests and performance tests and any other tests or anything we wanted to do sequentially or parallel in that one pipeline, which makes it easier to automate. And with all those APIs, SDKs, CLIs, we can now even build our own abstraction layer, because we all love abstraction layers, to be able to automate within our development lifecycle. So we were able to create our own CLI tool that actually creates our own Lambda component. So we built our own NPM module to be able to do all the stuff that we do in Lambda, so do config and logging and X-ray, APM and all that kind of stuff, just for developers, so they can just go new component, it clones the repo, bootstraps it, and then new component deploy, and it runs our CloudFormation that we've done to set up the pipeline, set up the webhooks, and then deploy that. And we can do all that now. That's what we were planning on doing. It just, again, the glue and sticky tape, right? So it makes it a lot easier to automate that. So happily ever after, right? well, almost happily ever after. So, as we know, there's no relationship is successful without compromise. So, and although we are well on our way to being happily ever after, I believe, and we'll get there, there are a couple of gaps in the code build, code pipeline. I'm sure anyone who's worked with those has seen. And I should have said in the beginning, actually, the spoiler alert, it was that I actually still really like TeamCity and Terraform. I don't think there's any problem with those technologies or those tools. And even when it comes to analyzing the gaps, you can't really compare TeamCity to CodeBuild. Like, let's be honest. TeamCity's quite mature, I would say. I'm more of a TeamCity guy over a Jenkins guy. Probably, again, my designer background interface is a bit more helpful for me. And I don't think you can really compare those to CodeBuild. There's a lot more functionality, a lot more features that TeamCity has. Versioning is a little hard in CodeBuild, but we just find ways to work around it. TeamCity, you get a nice just build number, simple, there's a novel idea. And CodeBuild, it's this awesome GUID that's really helpful. But at least it's unique, right? So that's something. So we had to do other things to be able to kind of map that GUID to tag the S3 object, and then we tag our GitHub repo for that commits and all that kind of stuff, so we can at least get some kind of loop, so we know what's deployed in production. And rolling back in code pipeline is not entirely, the process is not entirely ideal. So we're using the S3 source, which means it's fine, you can roll back. Once we just have that version ID, we just have to download it and then upload it again to S3, and the pipeline runs again. So kind of not ideal, a little bit manual, but at least we think that we're still on the right track. So as we look towards that happily ever after, looking at now, I guess the pros and cons, the pros certainly outweigh the cons in our case. Feel like we're getting on that right track. It's only a matter of time before we're betting on AWS improving code build and improving code pipeline, so it's just a matter of time. And if I didn't mention it before, it's now easy to automate. Don't know if I mentioned that. And betting and improving those things beyond. Thank you very much.